In the year 2456, humanity had reached the stars, spreading across the galaxy. However, their advancement came with its own price: the fall of many civilizations. Some were consumed by war, others by greed, and still others by the cold, indifferent forces of the universe. But what was most troubling to the human race was their discovery of other, more powerful species, one of which would change the course of a young man's life forever. Xander Marlowe was not a hero. He wasn't even an exceptional individual by human standards. Born on Earth, he had been a mechanic in a small, dusty spaceport on a backwater planet, far from the flourishing galactic trade routes. But fate had a different plan for him. One fateful day, a mysterious ship appeared above his planet, and it changed everything. The ship's arrival was heralded by a piercing, metallic hum that resonated across the atmosphere, its sleek, black surface reflecting the stars. Xander had seen his fair share of merchant ships and bounty hunters, but this ship was unlike any he had ever seen. It had come from the direction of the Shaddrani Nebula, an area known for the terrifyingly advanced species known as the Shaddrani. The Shaddrani were an ancient, enigmatic species of aliens, known for their towering size, superior intelligence, and a ruthless hierarchy that governed their society. The most feared among them was their queen, Serishta, a being of unparalleled power and cunning. Legend spoke of her as a leader who ruled with an iron fist, commanding armies of thousands and leaving entire worlds in ruin when her temper flared. When the ship landed, it was followed by a contingent of Shaddrani warriors, their eyes glowing in eerie green. But it wasn't the soldiers who caught Xander's attention. It was the queen herself. Serishta was magnificent, a towering figure in her flowing crimson armor, her every movement exuding grace and power. Her eyes, dark as the void of space, scanned the crowd as if searching for something or someone. It didn't take long before Xander was singled out. He was dragged before her, thrown to his knees in the dirt. The Shaddrani soldiers, towering over him, seemed to find amusement in his confusion. "I have heard of your kind." Queen Serishta's voice was a soft, melodic hum that sent a chill down his spine. "The humans, weak, frail, but adaptable. Tell me, what is your worth?" Xander's mind raced. He wasn't a diplomat, nor a negotiator, but he was a mechanic, and in the presence of this alien queen, his survival instincts kicked in. "I can fix things," he said, his voice trembling. "Anything. Ships, machines, tools, whatever you need." Serishta's expression remained unreadable, but she seemed intrigued. "A mechanic," she mused, her eyes narrowing. "Perhaps you are more useful than I thought." A moment passed, and then, to Xander's horror, she gave an order to her guards. He was bound and taken aboard her ship. Over the course of the next few weeks, Xander found himself in an alien palace on Serishta's homeworld, a planet that seemed to pulse with an otherworldly energy. The architecture was both beautiful and terrifying, towering spires and intricate designs that seemed to reflect the power and culture of the Shaddrani. He was no longer a free man, but a servant, a slave to the queen's whims. His days were spent fixing various machines and technology that kept the palace running, advanced devices far beyond human comprehension. Serishta would watch him work, her sharp eyes studying him. At first, Xander hated it. He hated being forced into servitude. He hated the way the Shaddrani looked at him, as if he were nothing more than a tool. But as the days turned into weeks, something strange began to happen. Serishta would sometimes speak with him, her tone softening. "You are not like the others," she said one evening as Xander worked on a console. "Most humans are simple. However, you possess a certain intelligence. It is intriguing." Xander was cautious, unsure of her intentions. "I'm just a mechanic. I fix things. That's all." "I know," Serishta replied. but I do not think you understand the depths of your usefulness yet." The queen's strange behavior only intensified as time went on. She would often sit by him as he worked, speaking of her people, their history, and their rule over countless systems. She was not the tyrant Xander had expected, though he knew her power was absolute. There was a loneliness in her that seemed to grow as they conversed more. Serishta's life, her reign, had been built on the foundation of fear and dominance, but now Xander saw cracks in that facade. One night, after an exhausting day of repairs, Serishta spoke again, her voice softer than ever. "Xander," she said, "I have been the ruler of my people for centuries, but I have never known what it is to truly connect with another. I have been surrounded by subjects, by soldiers, by courtiers, but never by someone who could understand me. I have come to realize that perhaps I have been wrong all along." Xander was stunned. He had never expected such vulnerability from someone so powerful. He turned to face her, seeing the slight tremble in her normally composed form. "Are you asking me to what?" Xander asked cautiously, though his heart began to race. The queen of the Shaddrani, who had conquered countless worlds, was now opening up to him, a mere human slave. "I am asking you to stay," she whispered, her eyes locking with his. "I want you to stay by my side, not as a servant, but as an equal. I want you to be with me." For a long moment, Xander stood frozen. His mind was a whirlwind of thoughts. What was she really asking? She was a queen, and he was a mere mechanic, a human in a galaxy filled with powerful species. But there was something in her eyes that he couldn't ignore, a genuine desire for connection, something beyond her power. "You want me to stay?" he repeated, his voice barely above a whisper. Serishta nodded, the weight of centuries of loneliness reflected in her gaze. "Yes, I want you to marry me." The words hung in the air, surreal and overwhelming. Xander, still processing everything, found himself at a loss for words. He had come to understand that Serishta, despite her grandeur and strength, was still a being capable of love and longing. And he, too, had grown fond of her. She had been kind to him in ways that no one else had, even if it was still strange to think of her as anything but a ruler. "Are you certain?" Xander asked, his voice steady, though his heart pounded. "I am," she said, her voice filled with determination. "I have seen your heart, and I know that you are the one I need. The one who can be with me, not out of fear, but out of love. Will you, Xander Marlowe, marry me?" Xander paused. He had never thought his life would take such a turn. A mechanic, once free, now offered the chance to be with an alien queen. But despite all the differences between them, despite the power dynamics and the unimaginable gulf between their worlds, Xander saw something real in Serishta. And maybe, just maybe, that was all that mattered. "Yes," he said, his voice quiet but firm. "Yes, I will marry you." The queen of the Shaddrani smiled, a rare and beautiful thing, her eyes alight with a mixture of relief and joy. From that moment, Xander's life was no longer one of servitude, but of partnership. Together, they ruled not just with power, but with the bond of love, something neither of them had expected to find in a universe filled with uncertainty. And as they stood side by side, the future of the Shaddrani Empire seemed not only secure, but full of possibilities.